Hello and welcome to this Level 2 practice paper. We're going to do section A first, which should take you 25 minutes, and there are 15 marks available. No calculators can be used in this section. Question 1. What is 3,600 times 200? The method for doing this is to multiply the two numbers 36 and 2, which is 72, and then add the zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So we have the number 720,000 for 1 mark. Question 2. What is 3.5% of 120? You're a level 2 student, therefore we know the 1% rule. So we know 10% is 12 and 1% is 1.2. We don't want 1%, we want 3%. So we multiply 1.2 by 3 to get 3.6. Now we also need the 0.5%. So 0.5% is half of 1.2, which is 0.6. So to get our 3.5%, we need to add the 0.6 to 3.6. So for 1 mark, it's 4.2. Question 3. What is 6.5 take away 2 3/4? As soon as I get one of these type of questions, I'm looking at the fractions, and if they're halves and quarters, I can use my little step through time method rather than my adding and subtracting fraction method. So let's do that. Let's just pretend it's 6:30. And we're going to take away 2 hours, which gives us 4:30. Now, if we take away half an hour of the 3/4 of an hour that we've got, it gives us 4 o'clock. And then that leaves the last quarter of an hour that we need to take away from 4 o'clock, which is 3:45, or 3 3/4. So without having to do any equivalence or manipulation with fractions, we've just used our clock method to get 3 3/4. Question 4. What is 75 as a fraction of 200 in its simplest form? So to get the mark, we need to be able to simplify this fraction. So we create the fraction to start with, 75 over 200. And because they end in 5 and 0, we know they divide by 5. So we can divide 5 by 200 quite quickly. That's 40. If you're at all unsure with the 75, just do your bus stop method, and you know it goes in 15 times. Again, take no chances, it ends in 5 and 0, so I know I can divide by 5 again. So 5 goes into 15 3 times, 5 goes into 40 8 times. So my fraction simplified is 3/8, because I know 3 is a prime number and it doesn't divide into 8. Question 5. The volume of a square-based pyramid is given by V equals length times width times height over 3. Work out the volume of the pyramid below. So because it's square-based, if this side is 4, then I know that side is 4. So in my formula, V equals L, well, that's the length of 4. The width is also 4 times the height, which is 9. And then I need to divide the whole thing by 3. So we know 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 9 we can do in our box method if we want to. 9 times 10 is 90, 9 times 6 is 54. 90 plus 54 is 144. So we have 144, and we need to divide it by 3. Three doesn't go into 1, but 3 goes into 14 4 times, which is 12. Remainder 2. 3 goes into 24 8 times. So the volume of our pyramid is 48. Don't forget the units, so think about the units centimeters, and because it's volume, cubed. Question 6. What is minus 560 divided by 7? So don't forget the minus sign. Just put that on your answer line for now and just do 560 divided by 7. 7 doesn't go into 5. 7 goes into 56 8 times because 7 eighths are 56. 7 doesn't go into 0. Therefore, the answer is minus 80. 1 mark. Question 7. What is 44% as a fraction in its simplest form? So 44% in maths means 44 over 100. Because they're both even, I know they divide by 2, so it becomes 22 over 50. Again, I can see they're both even, so it becomes 11 over 25. Now, I've got 11 as a prime number. I know it doesn't divide into 25, therefore that's as simple as that fraction will get. So the answer on my answer line is 11 over 25. Question 8. Put the ratio 24 to 36 in its simplest form. So just like our fractions, all we need to do is divide both sides by the same number. So they're both even, let's divide by 2. So I end up with 12 and 18. I can divide by 2 again, so I get 6 to 9. Now I know 2 doesn't go into it, so I need to try 3. So if I divide by 3, I get 2 to 3. So the ratio in its simplest form is 2 to 3. Question 10. From the plan and front elevations below, draw a possible side elevation over here on the right hand side. So I know looking down on it, I've got this pattern, and I know when I look at it from the front, I've got these two here. So when I look at it from the side, I could have 3 going that way. So I'm looking at it this way. I'm expecting to see 3 squares across the bottom. Now, the front elevation would say there's at least one of the squares that's sticking up. So I could put a square there, and that would be right. There could also be a square there, that would be right. And there could also be another square on top of this one, which would make this one correct. So any of those 3 diagrams will get you the mark. So this one here, or this one, including this, or this one here. So any of those 3 diagrams will get you the side elevation mark. Question 9. From the graph, convert 3 litres to fluid ounces. So using a ruler, draw a straight line across until it hits your line. Then going down from where it hits the line, read off the reading here. Don't forget how to read the smaller squares when you have a diagram. Take the big reading, which is 20, and divide it by the number of small squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the difference between 100 and 120 is 20. Divide it by 5 means 20 divided by 5 is 4. So each one of these smaller squares is worth 4. So my reading is 104. So for 1 mark on the answer line, put 104 fluid ounces. Question 12. A lorry travels 180 miles to London and takes 2.5 hours. What's its average speed? So remembering your speed, distance, time triangle, we know to work out the speed, so we cover up speed, then we need to divide the distance by the time. So the distance 180 miles, now 2.5 hours is 2.5. We have to convert it into decimal time. So it's 180 divided by 2.5. Now, this is also testing, can you divide by a decimal? So to divide by a decimal, move the decimal place to one place to make the thing doing the dividing a whole number. Then what you need to do is make the other number move the decimal point the same number of places. So if I move it 1 to the right and infill with a 0, I get 1,800 divided by 25. That's going to give me the same answer as 180 divided by 2.5. Remember, with decimal division, you don't move the decimal point back. We've done all the adjusting here. So we have 1,800 and we divide it by 25. So it's a bit of long division. So we know that 4 25s are 100. We know 2 25s are 50. So 25 doesn't go into 18. So we need to see how many times 25 goes into 180. Well, I know 6 25s are 150. So if I add another one, another 25, I end up with 175, which is about as close as I can get to 180. So 25 into 180 is 4, 5, 6, 7. And that gives me 175. So I have a remainder of 5. And 25 goes into 50 twice. So what is his average speed? 72. It's in miles and it's per hour. That's how we measure speed. So notice on this calculation here that when we do long division, you'll always end up with a nice round answer. They're not going to give you decimals that go on forever or anything. It's always going to be a nice number. Question 13. If £600 is in a bank account that pays 6% a year, how much interest would there be after the first year? So they're just looking for the interest, not the total amount at the end of the year. So you're level 2 and you have to find a percentage of an amount without a calculator. So we can use the 1% rule. So we know 1% is £6. So 6% is £36. So the amount of interest after the first year is £36. Question 14. James is going to draw a pie chart for his boss to show him the new car sales for this month. The information is in the table below, and here we have the various makes of the cars and how many of each car they've sold. What angle does he need to draw for the Daihatsu? So we need to find this angle for this car. So remember, whenever you draw a pie chart from scratch, whatever you've got has to literally go into 360. So we need to work out the total of our frequency and divide 360 by that number. So 9 and 6 is 15, 16, 17, 20, 27. We have 36 cars that divide into 360. So 360 divided by 36 goes in once, and that gives us 10 as our scale that we go back. So all we need to do for this, because we're not drawing the whole pie chart, is multiply the sales for Daihatsu, which is 3, by 10 to give us 30 degrees. And put the answer on the answer line, and that's worth 1 mark. And that is the end of section A. Section B. Here we have 45 marks available and 1 hour 20 minutes in which to complete it. We are allowed to use our calculators in this section, so I highly recommend you turn your calculator on and stick it in your non-writing hand ready to use. So question 1. What is £350 plus 7%? So we have 7% of the £350 that we need to calculate first. So stick that in your calculator and we get 24.5. That's what's on my calculator. Add it to the original £350. So notice I'm showing the examiner everything that I'm doing. So plus the 350, what I have on my calculator. But because it's money, we need to remember that we have 2 decimal places. So don't forget the 0. And that's 1 mark. Question 2 has this long number that we need to round to 3 decimal places. So we have 6.3735386. So to 3 decimal places, means we're interested in the third decimal place. So everything else after it we can chop off. And we need to make a decision on this number on whether to leave it as it is or go up to the next number. Because the next one after it is a 5, we need to go up and make this a 4. So it becomes 6.374, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 3. What is 229.45 divided by 35? And give your answer accurate to 2 decimal places. Well, let's stick that exactly as it is into our calculator. And I get 6.555 with a recurring 71428 with a recurring. And now I've written exactly what's on my calculator. We can do our rounding to 2 decimal places. So chop it off there and make your decision on this number on whether to stick or go up to the next number. Because the next number along is a 5, I'm going to round it up. So I get 6.56, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 4. Put these numbers in ascending order. So we know descending means going down, so ascending means going up. So it's from small to big. So just write that down so you don't make any errors. So the smallest number is -4. Then the next smallest number is -1. Then we have 0, 1, 6, and 9. Make sure you've got the same number of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So once you're happy, write the answer on the answer line, and that's worth 1 mark. Question 5. What is 3/8 as a decimal? So you should all know how to do this on your calculators. If you get your calculator and just type in the fraction 3/8, rocker switch down, 8, rocker switch to the right, equals, press SD, the SD does it for you, 0.375. And that's worth 1 mark. Question 6. Below is a table of times people are late for college on a particular Wednesday morning. Harry states that the mean time people are late is 4 minutes. State why he is incorrect. So the best way to show something is wrong is to calculate the mean for ourselves. So to calculate the mean, we need the sum of our times. So 10, 11, 16, and we need to divide by the number of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So 16 divided by 7 will give us our mean. And I get on my calculator 2.2 recurring, 85714 recurring. So state why he's incorrect, because the calculated mean is, we can round it if we want to, 2.3 minutes. And if you wanted to, you could almost guess that he's actually divided the 16 by 1, 2, 3, 4, because 16 divided by 4 gave him his 4. So you could say, I think he ignored the zeros. If you wanted to be really accurate and help them out, why he got the wrong times. And that's worth 2 marks. So it'll be a mark for working out the correct mean and a mark for saying why he's incorrect. Part B. What is the median time for the people who are late? So we need to go back to our table and put the numbers in order sequence. So median means the middle. So we had 3 zeros, a 1, a 2, a 5, and an 8 as our times that people were late. So the median time, because there are 7 of them, we knock them off from each end, and we have 1 minute as our median time for 1 mark. Question 7 says, from the table in question 6 above, what is the probability on that Wednesday of choosing somebody who arrived on time? So there were 4 students who arrived on time. They had the 0 time for being late out of the 7 possible. So all you need to do on the answer line is 4 out of 7, because probability is what do we want? Well, there are 4 students that we want that were on time, and the total number of students was 7. So 4 over 7 gets you the 2 marks. Part B now wants us to label that probability, which was 4 over 7, on our probability scale. Now, the top tip I told you to do this is convert your probability of 4 over 7 by sticking it in as a fraction on your calculator and pressing SD, which is roughly 0.57. And then to label the chart, it always starts at 0 and finishes at 1. And I said the best way to plot difficult probabilities is not to try and divide up into fractions, but to go for the decimal and plot the decimal. So if we put 0.5 in the center, we know it's 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. We can divide it roughly into the 5 bits because it's easier, because that's how a ruler works. So we need to plot 0.57. So 0.5 is here, 0.55 would be there. So 0.57 would roughly be here on our probability scale. And that question is worth 2 marks. Question 8. The table shows the monthly pay for employees in an office. The proposed pay rise for each employee is also listed. So Annabelle, who's paid £1,200 a month, is going to get an extra £60 pay rise. The CEO states that the median, that's the middle pay, rise is going to be 5%. Is she correct? Show how you reach your decision. So the first thing we need to do is work out the percentage pay rise. And to do that, we take the pay rise, divide it by the original amount, and times it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So for Annabelle, 60 divided by the 1,200 that she's paid, and then multiply it by 100, gives us exactly 5%. So now let's do the rest of the people. So now we have all the pay rises. To work out the median, we need to find the middle. So let's look at them all in order. So we need to sort them first. So we have 2.2%, we have 3.2%, we have 4%, 5% for Annabelle, and 5.7% for Brian. So now they're in order and we've worked out our percentages. To calculate the median, the middle, knock them off for each end, and you end up with your median, which is 4%. So is she correct? No, she is incorrect, as the median pay rise is 4%, not 5%. And that's going to be worth a total of 5 marks. Question 9. Javid is going to put 3 circular flower beds in his garden. Each flower bed will have a diameter of 4.6 meters. The formula for calculating the number of flowers he needs for the beds is F equals pi r squared divided by 4.5 and then multiplied by 7.2. So if they give you a question with diagrams of shapes and measurements of shapes, then just draw a little sketch of the shape so you don't get confused. So they're going to have 3 circles and each one is going to have a diameter of 4.6 meters. Now, the formula says F is the number of flowers in the bed, which we know, but R is the radius of the flower bed in feet. So at the moment, we've got meters. Now, 1 meter is 3.28 feet. So for our radius, we've got to first of all halve the 4.6 meters. So the radius is 2.3 meters, which we need to convert. So we've multiplied this side by 2.3. We do the same on the other side. So multiply by 2.3, and we end up with 7.544 feet. So now we can put those numbers into our formula. So F is the number of flowers we need for one bed. So pi is 3.14 times the radius in feet, which is 7.544. Then we square it. It's all divided by 4.5, and then we multiply by 7.2. Now, we can do this all in one go on our calculators. So when we put in our calculator, we've got what looks like a fraction here. So let's use the fraction button. So we have 3.14, or the pi button, times 7.544 squared. The denominator, when we use the rocker, is 4.5. And then move the rocker to the right, so we're not multiplying the 4.5, and then multiply that by 7.2. So what you have looks exactly the same as the formula you have over here on the left. So when we press equals, it should tell us the number of flowers that we need. So that's 285.9255. So always write what the calculator says, and then do the rounding. So rounded 286 per bed times the 3 beds. So work out the number of flowers. 858 flowers will be needed for the 3 beds. So for part B, he's also going to put an ornamental fence around the outside of each flower bed. So around the outside, we know this is 4.6 meters on diameter. If the fence costs £12.50 per meter, how much will it cost in total for the fencing? So we need to know how many meters of fence we need for each of the 3 flower beds. So the circumference is the distance around the outside, and that's pi times the diameter, which is 4.6 meters. So let's do that, and that will tell us the distance around one of the flower beds. 14.444 meters, and we want enough for 3 flower beds. So let's multiply that by 3 now, and that'll give us how much fencing we need. So that's 43.332, rounded to the nearest meter, 44 meters. And at £12.50 per meter, put this in your calculator, get 550. So that's £550 worth 4 marks. Question 10. 20 teachers pay £10 each into a department lottery fund. 20 teachers, £10 each. Each ticket costs £2.50, and they want to buy 3 lucky dip tickets per week. How many weeks of lottery tickets will they get out of their fund? So it's 20 teachers times £10 each, means they're putting £200 into the fund. The 3 lucky dips cost £2.50 each, which is £7.50. So in order to work out how many weeks they're going to get, it's the fund, which is £200, divided by the weekly amount, will tell us how many weeks we will get from our initial fund. So 200 divided by 7.5 equals 26.6 recurring weeks. So how many weeks of lottery tickets will they get out of their fund? Well, this time we really need to round it down to 26 weeks. So they get 26 full weeks and they'll have a little bit of money left in. So 26 weeks of tickets. And that's worth 4 marks. Question 11. Zoe needs to know how many tables she can fit into her new restaurant. The restaurant floor has dimensions of 8 meters by 9 meters. To help her plan, she takes the dimensions for the tables as 3 feet by 4 feet. She uses the following formula to calculate the number of tables. N equals F divided by T times 580. F is the area of the floor in square meters. T is the area of the table in square inches. How many tables can she fit into the restaurant? So before we go on, let's convert these things here. So F is the area of the floor in square meters. Well, they're already in meters, so to make the area, multiply the two dimensions, and it's 72 meters squared is the area of the floor. The area of the tables, however, have to be in square inches. Now, at the moment, they're in feet, so it's one of those things you need to remember that there are 12 inches for every foot. So if you have 3 feet, you've got 36 inches. So the dimensions are going to be 36 times 48 inches. So let's do that. So the area of the table is 1,728 square inches. So now our formula N equals, so the area in square meters is 72, the area in square inches is 1,728, and we multiply it by this magic number 580. So let's put that in our calculator and see how many tables we can fit in. So use the fraction button because this looks like a fraction. So we have 72, rocker down over 1728, move it to the right, multiply it by 580 and press equals. Press the SD button and we have 24.16. That's what our calculator says. So to put the answer on the answer line, you're going to need common sense. We can't have more than 24 tables, so rounded 24 tables will be our answer. So 24 tables goes on the answer line. So it says use approximation to check any of your calculations above. Well, what you could do is you could say that we had 3 times 12, which gave us our 36 inches. So approximation would give us 5 times 10, which is 50. Anything like that, showing approximation will give you the mark. Question 13. Mr. and Mrs. Brown want to sell their house, which is valued at £175,000. They compare the offer of 3 local estate agents. Which one has the lowest fees? So Albert's has 1.5% of the sale value as their fee. So it's 1.5% of the 175,000. So we just stick that in the calculator as it looks. So 1.5 shift button brackets of the £175,000. Press equals and we get £2,625. For Bailey's, they charge 1/75th of the sale value of the house. So it's 1/75th of the 175,000. Again, using the calculator, we put in the fraction, 1, rocker down, 75th, rocker to the right, multiplied by the £175,000. Press equals, press SD, and we get 2,333.3 recurring equals £2,333 and 33 pence, because the 33 was recurring. And then finally, Carlos has a fixed price of £2,500. So to make our decision, it looks like Bailey's is the cheapest at £2,333 and 33 pence. So put the money in on the answer line and the 2 decimal places for the 3 recurring that we got on our calculators. Question 14. Janet wants to buy a new electric car that costs £25,560. The same petrol version of the car costs £20,205. She believes she's paying over 20% more for the electric version. Is she correct? And show your working out. Well, to work out the percentage change, all you need to do is find the difference between the two amounts divided by the original. So the original amount is the 20,205 of the petrol version, and then we need to work out the difference, which is 25,560 take away 2,205. And that's £5,355 more. So 5,355 as the difference. So as a percentage, we would multiply this by 100. So just stick this in your calculator. It's a fraction, so 5355, rocker down, the original price of 20,205 for the petrol, rocker to the right, and then multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. Press equals, press SD, and you have 26.5033 with a recurring over the 5. And then the number went on. So rounded to, let's call it 26.5%. So she believes she's paying over 20% more for the electric version. Then is she correct? Yes, she is correct. And we reckon it's about 26.5% more. Another way to do this question, if you wanted to, is to just work out 20% of the 2205 and then add it to the original amount to see if it is 25,560 or above. So on your calculator, so that's 4,041. Add it to your original price. So another way of showing this one is to say, well, 20% would be £24,246, and she's paying well over that. So it's got to be above 20%. So there are several ways of answering this question. Question 15. Joe wants to know if the distance from the city centre affects the amount he pays in rent. He has recorded the distance and the price of 10 flats he's interested in on a scatter graph. Part A. Joe finds an 11th flat in the newspaper that is 2.7 kilometres from the city centre and costs £270 a month to rent. Plot this additional information on the chart below. So 2.7 kilometres, £270. So 2.1234567, 2.7 kilometres and £270. So we're on this line here, 210, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So you should have a cross placed on there for 1 mark. Part B says describe the relationship between the distance from the city and the amount of monthly rent. So looking at it, it goes from top left to bottom right. It goes in this general direction. So we would say there is negative correlation. And if you want to, you can say the further from the city, the cheaper the flats. And that's worth 1 mark. Part C says draw a line of best fit. So back to our diagram, back to our chart, and let's insert a line of best fit. So here is my line of best fit. Notice how I haven't gone through any particular points of data, but I've tried to put it in the middle of all of this data that's spread down the way. Notice I go from the edge of the chart, from the edge of the chart. So that's drawing our line of best fit for 1 mark. So part D says Joe has a budget of £350 a month for his monthly rent. How close can he expect to get to the city centre? So back to our chart, and we have to plot a line from £350 down to the distance. So let's do that. So here I've drawn my line across from £350. I've hit my line of best fit, and I've gone down, and I can take my reading here. So it's 1 kilometre point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for 1 mark, 1.6 kilometres. And that's the end of question 15 and the end of section B and the paper. I hope this video has been of some use.